it's fun to watch them play. They played fast, they played energetic, they played with enthusiasm. And I remember in the press conference promising we would and make sure you give me a call if we don't, and I didn't get any calls. So either nobody has my number or we got the job done. So.
Welcome to the Let's Reign podcast, revealing conversations with UC coaches, players, and administrators. I'm your host, Dan Hoard. Our guest on this episode is UC baseball coach Jordan Bischel, coming off an exceptional first season. You were picked for last in the Big 12. You didn't finish last. You finished fifth, 32 wins, 7 all-league players, just missed qualifying for the NCAA regionals. How would you describe year one?
Yeah, it was exciting. I mean, nice we didn't underachieve, because if we would have finished worse than last, it would have been a long year. But no, it really went. You couldn't have scripted a whole lot better in terms of the progress we made as a program. If you followed us early, we won some ball games, but we played pretty inconsistent baseball. We probably lost some games that I feel like we should have won, but part of the learning curve, right? And as the year progressed, guys got better on the field, the chemistry improved, the buy-in improved, the energy improved, and that started to stack into wins. And that's ultimately, for me, year one. I never wanted to feel like it's just a rebuild or a scrap things or a start over. Like, those guys on this team this year deserve to feel success and see what that felt like. And so it was rewarding for me that all of the time they put in led to a lot of pretty cool moments.
One of those cool moments was senior day. It was a Hollywood script. You fell behind Oklahoma 6-0. You wound up winning the game on a grand slam by Josh Hegeman, his first career home run on his senior day. Was that one of those moments where you say to yourself, this is why I love my job?
Yeah, I mean, how cool was that? Josh is a kid who really didn't play his first 2 years here. Last year cracked the lineup on kind of a part-time basis, had good success, and then became really an everyday guy for us this year, who was impacting the game in a lot of ways except one, hitting for power. And for him, against a 97-mile-an-hour fastball with the bases loaded, the 8th inning, 2 outs, and an exciting comeback to hit a home run, I mean, that's one of those that not just he, but his parents, his teammates, everybody that was at that game will remember for a long, long time. And I'd like to think when we get 5-10 years down the road and we talk about this process of building this where we want it to go, that's one of those moments you're just not going to forget.
We did an interview a little bit like this almost exactly a year ago when you got the job. You talked about wanting to be known for 3 things at the UC baseball program, the 3 E's: energy, enthusiasm, and excitement. Do you feel like the 3 E's were established in year one?
Yeah, I think you got to ask our fans that came out to see us play, but I think undoubtedly. I mean, you felt it, and for me, it's less about the game day. For fans, they'll see it, but it's that day-to-day, how we go about things. And so in the classroom, we were close to a 3.4 team GPA. That takes enthusiasm. That takes energy. You have to do it right in the weight room, at practice, in everything we do. And that stuff that goes on behind the scenes nobody sees with those 3 E's makes it authentic and real when the games start, and we're producing that. And again, without a doubt, watching our guys play, it's fun to watch them play. They played fast, they played energetic, they played with enthusiasm. And I remember in the press conference promising we would and make sure you give me a call if we don't, and I didn't get any calls. So either nobody has my number or we got the job done. So
Olivia Ray from WLWT did a great story during the course of the season about your players coming out to watch your 4-year-old son play Little League baseball. It was kind of an organic thing, and it was a really great story. For those who didn't see it, explain how that came about.
Yeah, I mean, this is just cool stuff. And when you talk about what makes your job fun, this is way bigger than the Grand Slam, right? My kids, I have twins that are 7, Luke and Parker, and then Chase, who's 4, and Chase is just getting into coach pitch for the first time, all that good stuff. And so school had ended. I knew they had some free time, so I just mentioned to a few guys, I said, listen, Chase has a game tonight. I know it's a half hour away. If you have other things going on, that's totally fine. And I expected to probably see like Christian Mitchell, Luke Sefcik, guys that had been around me a couple of years coming from Central Michigan. And sure enough, as his game's starting, I see those couple of guys arrive, and I'm pretty flattered. I'm pretty excited, and Chase is going to be excited. But then another car shows up, and another car shows up, and before you know it, 13 of our players are there, and it's seniors that are not everyday players for us that easily could be bitter about their experience but are finding ways to enjoy it, mixed with the transfers that came with me, mixed with transfers that came from other schools like a Hunter Jesse. And I mean, legitimately, number one for Chase, the smile on his face when he saw those guys. I mean, that's the all-time memory. And then for me, and not to get too emotional, but legitimately brings tears to my eyes. Like, that's what we came here to do, is build a family, build this culture that the winning takes care of itself if you do things right. And for those guys to do that, just, it's like, all right, we're doing this right. Like, we've got good kids that are bought in, and it was so cool. And what's really cool about it is, about a week ago, Tommy O'Connor, who's still in town for the summer, one of our better players, sends me a text, hey, when do Luke and Parker play this week? Because he didn't see them play. Sure enough, he drives 40 minutes north to Mainville and comes to their game last weekend, and just unsolicited. I didn't ask. He just did it. And, man, how lucky am I that our family gets to be surrounded by these 18 to 22-year-olds that are doing things not many 18 to 22-year-old males do, and just it's really cool and rewarding, and I'd like to think part of why we had the success we did.
Says a lot about your players, says a lot about your relationship with your players. Your twins were born at your second head coaching stop. You've said that changed you as a coach. In what ways?
I think it humanized me a lot. You know, before kids, obviously, I cared about my wife and was invested in that relationship, but I think anybody that has kids knows that just kind of changes how you view life a little bit. And I think for our players, it showed them that I wasn't just a coach. And for me, it was stressful at first. How are you going to manage the extra time? Obviously, coaching's a busy profession, and it's how do you be a good dad, still be a good coach, and you panic about it. And then I think, looking back, I realized when they saw that there were feelings inside of me, and there was a person inside of me and a dad inside of me, it loosens everything up and makes everybody, and for me, gives me perspective. These guys have things going on away from the field. They've got school, they've got girlfriends, they've got families. And if all of a sudden everybody's bought into the people, not that I didn't care about them as people before, but again, it changes things a little bit. I think when that level of care goes past baseball and those things, I think both ways, it is just really impactful and humanizes everyone, and it just, I think, had ultimately a huge impact.
Let's talk about your background. You're from Wisconsin. How did you catch the baseball bug?
Yeah, grew up in Green Bay, so obviously Green Bay, Wisconsin is a total baseball city with no football influence at all. Yeah, there was some green and yellow team. This Brett Favre guy was playing, but no. So obviously I was in that football environment, but my parents got divorced when I was young. My mom got remarried to Royce, my stepdad, 1987. So I was 6 years old, and he was the ultimate baseball nut. He grew up in Milwaukee in the 50s. The Milwaukee Braves won the World Series in 57, and he was hooked from that day on. And so he was a huge influence on him. My dad was a sports guy too, but my stepdad was the ultimate baseball nut, and that's really where it started. He, going to Brewer games and going to minor league games and playing and playing in the front yard, all that. That's really where it started. The coaching took on a life of itself, but that's where that started. And this year was special for me in that he actually passed away this March after he was married to my mom for 40 years. And I know he was so excited when I got this job because he said at some point he's going to see me play in Omaha. And so I haven't talked about Omaha a minute since I've been here, but if there's one motivation to get there, it's having him somewhere above seeing me coach. So not to get emotional on you, I know that's not where you meant to go with that question, but special season that it turned out this way. And it was funny because he passed away the day we lost to Western Illinois, and we were 9-8, and we kind of had a come to Jesus meeting with our team, and that's about when the season turned. So whether those things are correlated or not, I have no idea, but kind of funny how the world works sometimes.
I have a somewhat similar story. My mother got remarried when I was 8, so I was raised by a stepfather. My gratitude for a stepfather and for all stepfathers is off the charts because they kind of miss out on those early bonding years. They take you on when maybe you're starting to become a little bit of a pain in the neck and do all those tough things that dad did.
No, I was so lucky because I was still very involved. My dad, my parents still got along, still close with my dad, and I was able to add a second dad to it. I mean, it's for a lot of kids, it's kind of a horror story, I think, but for me, it was an incredible experience, and it was because, like you said, he invested in me when he didn't have to.
You played college baseball at St. Norbert College in Wisconsin. When your career ended, you became an accountant. Did you hate being behind a desk? Yes.
I shouldn't say I hated it. I was bored to tears. I knew I had a decent paycheck. I knew it was fine. But on Tuesday at 2 p.m., you're thinking about when is my weekend? What am I going to do on Friday night, Friday evening, whatever that is? And I thought, why go through life this way? Why spend, I know it's cliche, but why spend 5 days to get yourself ready to enjoy 2 days? Like, let's enjoy 7 a week. Now, in hindsight, it was probably short-sighted and foolish because that was a really good job, and this is a really hard field to crack, but I didn't know any better, and I guess ignorance was bliss there and paid off. So
you got into coaching, and that was far more enjoyable, but you essentially made peanuts for a long time.
Yeah, I don't need anybody crying for me, but yeah, I was an assistant for 7.5 years before I had a full-time job. You just make it work. I mean, if it's something you care about and you have pride, and thankfully the accounting degree helped. I could do side jobs there. I'd work camps, do what you need to do. I still thought life was good. It didn't really matter. But yeah, for 7.5 years, and then when I got that first full-time job, I was just thrilled that I finally had this massive paycheck of $32,000 a year. Health insurance? Are you kidding me? I can go to the doctor. I can get my teeth cleaned. It was heaven on earth. But the funny thing about it is I don't really feel any different now, obviously sitting in a different seat, but it's really, to me, very much the same job.
Before you got that head coaching opportunity at the NAIA level, was there that point where you were like, okay, I can maybe do this for another year or two, or did you just say, I don't care?
No, it was getting challenging. I mean, I would be a part of these games. I was an assistant at the Division II level, and I really believe deep inside, like, I could coach at a relatively high level. I never thought about Division I or Power 5, but I just thought I could be a head coach, and that's really what I wanted an opportunity to do. But I've been dating Katie, who's now been my wife for 10 years, for a couple of years, and I'm working as a GA that's already graduated grad school because there's no other jobs, and I'm getting my $700 a month and living in subsidized housing. It was like, at some point we're going to have to do something here. I'm almost 30, and I think this is the person I want to marry, and I can't afford anything but the quarter ring out of the little vending machine. What do I do? And thankfully it was right about that time I got my first opportunity. I'm sure I would have stuck it out a little longer, but at some point, life hits you, and you had, so I was fortunate to get that opportunity before I got to that point.
Midland University in Nebraska. How old were you, and were you truly ready to be a head coach?
I'm still not really ready to be a head coach. Every year I think I am, and then I look back and I say, geez, look what I learned this year. 12 years ago, so I would have been 18 because I'm 30 now. No, I think I was 31 when I got the job, if I remember right, 12 years ago. And I felt like I was ready. I think I had the leadership skills, but I don't think you're ever ready for a new job until you attack that new job. And I probably didn't appreciate what the head coaches I had worked through had to do until I'd been a head coach in summer ball for a number. So managing a game was relatively easy, but managing a team a little bit different. And so I learned a lot really quickly, and then I thought I knew a lot, and then I learned a lot more, and that process continues. That's what's fun to me about it, is I think we evolve every single year. We get a little different every single year. And now that I've been a head coach 12 years, it feels like a long time. And I would guess in 10 years, I'll say, man, I didn't know what I was doing 10 years ago. So,
beyond the responsibility of coaching your team, what did the head coach at Midland University have to do?
Recruit. We had a school, and when I say recruit, it wasn't guys that threw 90. It was guys that could pay a tuition bill. And I don't say that in a negative way, but Midland was a place that about a year before I got the job had 600 students and was struggling to keep the doors open. And really their perspective was, we need to grow enrollment through athletics. And as they were hiring that position, it was very, very clear that the number of student athletes on your roster was probably as or more important than the number of wins on your team's record. Thankfully for me, accounting background, or the president of the school, so this guy gets the equation. You bring in student athletes, we'll give you some budget, we'll work, and he could see I had that ambition to recruit, but understand it was part of kind of a greater mission. And I think what was cool there, we had a huge roster. We had 63 guys one year. We had 78 guys one year. What was cool for me, even though that's probably not how you want to build a baseball team, we still had student athletes that were pretty happy, and our retention rates were high. And I think it was an eye-opener, like playing time does matter, but there's a lot more that goes into this that helps kids be happy. And it was, I think, a great chance for me to figure out, how do you keep guys happy without playing time, because there just wasn't enough. And I probably learned a lot through that and you see, I think, that in our style still today, and why the Cole Hardings of the world, even though they were dying to be out there a little bit more, still had an enjoyable experience. So it's just crazy what you garner and learn from those things that you never really realized in that moment.
From Midland to Division II Northwood, and then on to Central Michigan, where you had tremendous success, 2-time MAC Coach of the Year, 3 NCAA regional appearances. At that point, did you start to think, I've got a chance to coach at the highest level?
I mean, yes, it crosses your mind. I'd be lying. But I remember being at Northwood after we had started to string some success together, and people saying, somebody's going to hire you for Division One, and I was pretty oblivious. Not a lot of guys go from Division Two to Division One. It's changed a little bit the last few years, but that's a big leap to take, and I never really thought about it when I got into coaching. I want to make a living doing something I enjoy, and that's what I was doing. So I was happy at Northwood. I didn't really think I'd move to Division One, and I remember when I got the Central Michigan job, I said to Katie, I said, the good news is they gave me a 4-year contract, so if I'm totally overmatched and overwhelmed, they have to pay me for 4 years. We'll save a decent chunk of money, and then hopefully a Division II will hire me again, and we'll be fine. And I mean, that really was my only thought. Then obviously as we started to stack some success, I think the biggest reason I knew that was a possibility is some schools started showing interest. But I never assumed that. I mean, it was not 2 or 3 weeks before I got this job. I remember saying to Katie, if this is my last job, we're pretty darn blessed and pretty darn lucky. And so it was never like, was it important competitively, I guess, but that's not really what life was about for me. So it was, I don't know, it's a loaded question because certainly as you win, you hear your name floated around, but I never want to get focused on it either, if that makes sense.
What was your thought when UC contacted you about the possibility of coaching here?
I was really excited about this opportunity. I think our family was willing to live anywhere if the opportunity was right, but we grew up in Wisconsin. We spent the last 10 years in Michigan. We're pretty much Midwest people. We don't have a Michigan bias, so I could stomach Ohio State if I had to a little bit. But we would have preferred the Midwest if all things were being equal, so that opportunity presented itself. Flip side, it's warmer down here. It's 6 hours south where we're not dealing with snow all the time. I've always looked at like Louisville, who really was not real good in baseball up until Dan McDonald got there, and I think what he did a great job of is showing kids from Illinois, from Ohio, from Michigan, you can play against the best competition in the country, but stay close enough to home that your family can do it, can come see a play without jumping on an airplane. And so I thought Cincinnati joining the Big 12 had a great opportunity to do the same thing. Obviously haven't had a ton of success, but it's also not a failed program. There were some good years in there and some success, and I just thought, man, is there just a tremendous opportunity. I think what some people saw as this bear of jumping into a new league, to me, was just a wide open door and opportunity. And so it was, and I told this to John in the process, and I meant it, and I think he feels that now. I said, of all these jobs that have shown some interest over the last few years, this is the one I feel most excited about as a fit on the field, off the field, family, and thankfully, obviously, it worked out.
Is that Louisville example that you cited kind of the formula for recruiting success at Cincinnati?
I think it is. I think Brett Yormark always says the Big 12's open for business. Our recruiting is open for business. If there's a kid in Southern California or Texas that can help us win and wants to be here, we certainly would embrace him. But we're spending our time with our feet on the ground in Ohio, in Michigan, in Illinois, in Wisconsin, guys that see this as almost a southern location, and it's a chance to again compete with the best in the country without having to jump on an airplane, and I think there's a tremendous opportunity, and there are plenty of good players in this part of the country to be successful. Sometimes they may have a little more work to do to unearth it. They may not play baseball year-round like guys in the South, but doesn't make them worse athletes, and sometimes might make them a little more ambitious and a little more willing to learn. And again, you've seen Vanderbilt do it, you've seen Louisville do it, you've seen Oregon State do it, different part of the country, but some of the same challenges. It's not going to be easy here, but I don't see why it can't be done.
6 Big 12 teams made the regionals. Arizona joins the league next year. They're a top 16 seed. Is Cincinnati a good fit in a league like that?
17 wins and 13 losses this year. So I think we probably stick out a little bit like a sore thumb in terms of our geography and things like that. But listen, this place is awesome. Look at the number of students that are coming here. Kids love going to school here. It's in an incredibly energetic city, great part of the country. There are some things about it that don't fit from the high-level view, but there is no reason, and you've seen it with West Virginia. I think that was viewed as, why are they in the Big 12? And they've played in back-to-back regionals, won the Big 12 last year, and nothing against West Virginia, but I know I'd rather live in Cincinnati than Morgantown, right? And again, Morgantown's a great place, but for a young student, right, it's an exciting place to check out. Like, I don't know how we fit optically, but there is no doubt we can be competitive.
How's the transfer portal and NIL affecting college baseball?
No, I haven't noticed it at all. What's NIL? It's there's no use complaining about it. I think our first job is to make sure we work really hard to recruit the right student athletes and then make sure we're helping them have a tremendous experience. That doesn't insulate you completely, but it protects you a little bit in terms of that portal. You can talk about NIL, you can talk about money, you can talk about the SEC and agents. A lot of kids still do think with their hearts just as much as their head. And if they're happy and their parents see them happy, it's a lot less likely they're going to go chasing dollar signs. And so that's mission number one, retain your roster. And that's something we're taking a lot of pride in. And again, recruit the right guys that are coming for the right reasons. And so that's not easy, but I think we're making progress there. NIL's becoming more and more real. I think a lot of people were thinking, hey, this football, basketball thing, it's real in baseball. Our collective has done a great job pushing that, driving that. Our administration at least getting the word out about it, and we're making progress. We're going to be behind most of the top teams there, but I never thought we had to have the most NIL in the country to be successful, and people are working hard to work in the right direction. What I hope people see with the baseball NIL side of things is our guys are on partial scholarships, or in some cases no scholarships, 11.7 scholarships for 40 student athletes. I'm not a numbers guy. I wasn't an accountant or anything like that, but as I do that math, there's a big gap. And so people that are helping us and getting behind our collective are helping pay a tuition bill, helping pay for meals. We're not buying cars for these guys. And I'm not saying there's a problem with football or basketball players doing that, but it's a different animal for us. And so when people help us out, I think it's more rewarding because they know they're helping a kid not take out a loan that he's got to pay back when he's got a family, those kind of things. So pretty cool there that I think we can actually influence. Obviously, this settlement with the NCAA is going to be very impactful on that, hopefully create some structure. I think people that care about these student athletes have no issue with them having more of their school pay for it, making some money, being a part of the wealth that's out there. The issue is the lack of structure and kind of that wild, wild west mentality. And so hopefully that centralizes some things. And from a pure baseball perspective, it sounds like we'll work a lot closer to full scholarships, which I think if you look at the revenue that's starting to be generated in baseball, the interest in schools that comes out of baseball, the time they put in probably is pretty justified. So it's exciting for me that our guys can see a piece of that pie.
Your team set a school record for walks this year. You were among the NCAA leaders in stolen bases. Do you expect those stats to consistently be part of your teams, or was that just a reflection of the players you had right now?
No, it should be. The stolen bases will probably fluctuate a little bit here because it's hard. Number one, you cannot steal first. We're trying to figure out that equation, but you got to get on. Those things go hand in hand. When you're walking, you have opportunities to steal second, third, maybe home occasionally, which we got thrown out trying to do a few weeks ago. But those are things we work really, really hard at. And we're not up there just trying to take pitches, but we work incredibly hard at plate discipline, swinging at the right pitch. Our guys invested day after day after day to make it second nature what the right pitch was. And so if you look at our teams historically, we're top 10 in the country in walks. I think we're a little lower than that this year, but to set a school record in year one was awesome to see the buy-in from our guys. The stolen base stuff, again, we work at on a daily basis. We think it's exciting. We think it helps buy-in. We think it makes guys really want to play hard. Pretty proud of the fact that we rarely get thrown out. That's a big part of it. If you look at it's funny because people from afar just say analytics say don't steal bases, and that's not what analytics say. They say don't get thrown out. Stealing bases gets you closer to home, right? That's a goal, but we really had a high percentage, and Coach Winsky just works his tail off with our guys to make sure we understand what a high percentage play looks like, and we take the opportunities when they're there, and we're conservative when they're not. But those are two things we're really proud of. We think it puts a ton of pressure on the pitching staff, the defense, and obviously we want to continue to build off of that.
Coach Winsky, I think I'm thinking of the right coach here. My former color commentator on the UC basketball broadcast was the late, great Chuck Meshock. He coached at West Virginia when Bob Huggins played there. Then Chuck helped Coach Huggins get a job as a grad assistant at Ohio State when he coached there. Eventually, Chuck became the head coach at Central Michigan. Coach Huggins was his top assistant, and then it flip-flopped. And Coach Meshock went to work for Coach Huggins. It's a similar story for you two,
That's
right?
the story, yep. Coach Winsky, Tom, he was my college coach. He had been a really successful high school coach in Green Bay. Actually coached against me. He was coaching high school ball. I was playing high school ball, and he got the job at St. Norbert. His second year was my freshman year of college. He was kind enough to be the only person that recruited me. So it's not that I wanted to play for him; it's that I had to play for him. But spent 4 years playing for him. Went into the accounting world. Got into coaching not at St. Norbert, but after 1 year I went back and I was an assistant of his for 3 years. And he really actually pushed me. I think he saw how hard I was working at it, how much I cared about it. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was trying really hard. And he just said, "Listen, if you really want to coach, like, you've got to branch out. You can't stay at the little Division III school making a little stipend." And so that's what led me to Northwest Missouri Division II school, where I was a GA. But yeah, and so when I became a head coach, it was probably my third year at Northwood, and he had lived in Green Bay his whole life. He's 60 years old now, so at the time he's in his younger to mid 50s. He would call me and say, "You know, when you get that Division I job," and I say, "I'm not getting a Division I job, but what do you want to talk about? When you get that Division I job, I'm going to be an assistant." You're like, "Yeah, you will. You'll leave Green Bay. Your wife's happy there. You've lived your whole life. You're not moving." And then I get a job in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, which I loved Mount Pleasant, but it's not exactly a metropolis. And I said, your wife is never going, Betsy's not going to let you move to Mount Pleasant, Michigan. And I don't know how he conned her into it or what he paid her, but they made the move, spent 5 years with me there. And so it's awesome. I mean, that's somebody who holds my feet to the fire, who's a mentor to me, who's an incredible teacher, 20 years as a head coach. And here he is helping our guys out. 60 years old, and a lot of days it feels like he's the youngest guy in the room. So all of our coaches are equally valuable, but that relationship is obviously pretty special to me.
Let's wrap this up by going full circle. As I mentioned, we did a conversation like this almost exactly a year ago. How has the year been for you, your wife, and your 3 boys?
Yeah, it's been hectic. Obviously, it's been busy, and driving 20 miles on Highway 71 every day is an adjustment from Mount Pleasant, where I could walk to work if I wanted to. But there's usually phone calls that have to be made. But outside of traffic, it's living here is incredible. The kids are in a great school system. They're getting into sports. They've got all that going on. Katie's been able to work out of the house. She still works for Central Michigan, actually, as an academic advisor. She does online students. For her to be able to do that from home is so massive because she loves to work, but my job makes it hard for her to do that. And I mean, we live in a great neighborhood. It's just an amazing community. We could not be happier. Obviously, the baseball went well, but life is like I told you a few minutes ago. This was the job, and it turned out like this is everything we dreamed of and more. We're so fortunate to be here. So I appreciate you asking because life is good. We're really, really lucky.
Year 1 was good. Congratulations on a great first season. We're excited about the future of UC baseball under Jordan Bischel.
I appreciate it. Good kids in our program are what got it all going, and I'm excited to get another group going here in the fall.
You hit like 450 something as a senior at Princeton, right?
It might have been like 479. I don't know, something like that. 450 is good though.
I cheated you on 450.
But just one homer. It was my only home run in high school.
Welcome to the Let's Rain podcast, revealing conversations with UC coaches, athletes, and administrators. I'm your host, Dan Hoard. Our guest on this episode is one of the best baseball players in UC history, former Major League Baseball All-Star Josh Harrison. I think most people listening or watching this know that you're a Cincinnati guy. You went to Princeton High School, went to UC, and then made it to the major leagues. But your path to UC might surprise them because you're short by Major League Baseball standards. You're 5'8". So despite the fact that you had this great high school career, colleges weren't necessarily knocking down your door, correct?
No, not at all. I appreciate you giving me 5'8", too.
What's the truth?
That's usually with Spikes. 5'8".
What's the number?
5'6.5".
Okay.
But, Spike's 5'8". But, yeah, to go on to that, I've told this story a lot. But, a lot of people look at, whether it's a Major League Baseball player, NBA, NFL, and just assume, oh, you're at colleges knocking down your door. And by standards 20 years ago, I was short because there weren't too many guys in the major leagues that were under 6 feet. But now you look around the league, you got a lot of guys that they understand baseball as a skilled sport. And playing varsity 3 years, being all conference, doing everything that I was supposed to, it was never a doubt in my mind about being able to play. Even my dad would tell you, I got 2 older brothers that were 6 feet, 195 out of high school. I was 5'6", 150. So you can see where colleges might have been a little bit more on them than me. And, we can get a little bit more in depth into it. But long story short, I signed to go to UC the day that I graduated high school. I had no college offers the last month going into high school. And that's 3 years of varsity, playing summer ball, playing for, good summer teams. It was just a different day and age, which I'm also grateful that I came up in that time, because it taught me a lot of valuable lessons about staying true to your work and focusing on you.
You hit like 450 something as a senior at Princeton, right?
It might have been like 479. I don't know, something like that. 450 is good, though.
I cheated you on 450.
But just one homer. It was my only home run in high school. And it was a walk-off, and I think I was rounding second by the time it cleared the fence. You let my brother tell it, because he was back coaching. He had broke his wrist, so he was one of our coaches. And he always be like, man, you was rounding second when the ball cleared the fence. But, yeah, it's a little bit of story of, like you said, colleges weren't really knocking down my door till maybe the last couple of weeks when we played tournament games here, played Miamisburg. We beat Moeller, which was the reigning state champ. So those opportunities definitely helped. But as you said, it wasn't really, I didn't really have many options.
Your oldest brother, Vince, one of the great prep athletes in Cincinnati history. He's the manager of the Dayton Dragons now. But in your mind, he was the guy that was going to have the 10-plus year major league career, right?
Well, honestly, in my mind, you couldn't have told me that both my brothers and myself, that's just the confidence that we have. My oldest brother being who he was in the city, as you mentioned, Buddy LaRosa's Hall of Fame. I'm going to be the biased younger brother. I think he's the best athlete to come through the city. But, and that's not selling myself or my middle brother short. But, just had two guys that went before me that were able to, set the standard. I was able to be a little brother and just kind of pick and choose, be the annoying little brother. But my brother Vince has pretty much done a little bit of everything. Coach, he's played. And his influence just in the city with a lot of youth. You mentioned a guy that went to college to play football and baseball.
At UK.
At UK.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty rare. So his knowledge just about life in general, people will gravitate towards him. He's one of the persons that I lean on. Other people's life experiences can help you.
Let's talk about your UC career. It was awesome. Big East Co-Player of the Year, All-American. You're way up there on many of the all-time statistical categories at UC. And beyond that, the team was great back then. You still hold the single-season record for wins 39. From your final year.
39. Yeah, my junior year, I remember. And like I say, I've been blessed. UC couldn't have come at a better time for me to sign here when I did. I was able to come in as a freshman, compete for a spot right away. And I started every game from my freshman year through my junior season. And just in those years, we were able to build, some good relationships amongst our team. We had a good freshman class. Dan Osterbrock was a pitcher that is local, that went to Colerain, that we came in together. Then we had Cam Satterwhite transfer from Indiana. We had a guy transfer from Florida, Michael Spina. And we had these pieces in place that we had a good blend of power, speed, pitching. It took us a while to gel together. We got off as many games we won my junior year, 39. I want to say the first month and a half of the season we were terrible. Like, we probably had 5 or 6 wins out there that we let get away just based off of not the greatest weather, not making excuses. We just weren't playing well. And once we played well, it got to the point where it's like, no, this is one of the better teams in the country. I wish we would have got a bid. We felt like we got fleeced a little bit, but that's life.
So when you got to the major leagues and you became an all-star and had a great career, you kind of became known for your versatility. Did that start at UC?
Yeah, not by choice. Realistically, I came in as a shortstop out of high school, and I remember I was starting to shortstop my freshman year, and we had some injuries, guys going down, guys, might have needed a break. So from my freshman year coming in, I played third, short, second, left, right, and unfortunately I caught.
How much? How often?
I caught 3 games. It was an emergency. Are you asking about how much I caught?
How much you caught, yeah.
Like 2.5 games. Okay. It was in the middle of a game where our catcher caught a foul ball, and our both backup catchers literally just got put on like red shirt from having surgery. And I'm out at shortstop, and I'll never forget. They go, J.A., and I'm, what's going on? They go, we need you to catch. And I go, I've never caught a day in my life. And they go,
you're about to.
There you go. And sure enough, first batter, foul ball off my AC joint. I can't throw it back to the pitcher like the first batter. I ended up throwing a couple guys out. But I caught, like, by the third game, our catcher was cleared to come back and play. And I had never been more happy to get from behind there. But and then that's when I started playing a little bit more outfield. And I don't want to say that's when I really realized it. I was just out there playing the game that I loved. And as I look back, I know it provided flexibility for the manager, Brian Cleary, because from then I would go play left, go play right. Oh, we need you to play third. And I played them well. And I was the type that it wasn't a matter if you put me out there, I'm going to show you that you're not going to lose anything. And fast forward, when I got to the big leagues, they knew I could do it. And they asked me, and I said, yeah, which I mean, we can get a little bit more into that, but just it started at UC, and as I said, not by choice.
So am I correct in thinking that catcher is the only position that you did not appear in a major league game?
Oh, no, you're right. Mm-hmm. And I told them no. And if I did, they were like, hey, just to say you played all 9. I said if I did it, I would go back there and call 1 pitch out. Not even gonna get a
check.
Not even gonna get a dude a chance to foul it back off my shoulder. Hey, we going right here, which they don't even do that anymore.
That's right.
You know, they just go automatically put him
Correct.
on. So I'd have just got in there with the mask 4 and then walked off. But it is definitely the toughest position on the field because you have to be aware of everything. And man, you take beatings on things that you don't even realize. You don't realize the foul balls, the dirt balls. And I got introduced right away, and that's why I was like, you know what? That's enough for me to know. It's the reason I didn't come back here. You know, I respect those guys.
You had a 13-year major league career, 2 All-Star game appearances, a top 10 MVP season. What are you proudest of?
Wow. That's one of the tougher questions that I've gotten about my career. To be honest, if I could sit here and reflect, I would say the proudest thing that I could say that I am is, you know, playing 13 years. One, you talk Major League Baseball, it's only 6% black. So to represent that, to also have an uncle, my uncle John T-Bone Shelby, who played 11 years, 2 World Series rings, to be a part of that, but also to have 10 years pension. Only 10%, I believe, of the major leagues ever get pension. So those are 2 things I'm proud of because anything individually, you know, comes with being able to, you know, play for that long. And as I sit back, you know, my dad had a conversation with me this some years ago, and he goes, man, just think about it. When I got 10 years, he goes, you know, I signed my contract extension in 2015 after my first All-Star game. And from 15 through 19, every year I spent at least six weeks on the injured list, whether it was broken hand, you know, torn hamstring, torn thumb. So he goes, you know, it's a lot of people that had far less injuries than you that were not able to make it back. You know, and for me, I never sat there and looked at it because I always lived in a moment knowing that, you know, I'm doing what I need to get back on the field. But, you know, looking back to know that I spent 4 or 5 straight years of 6+ weeks, injured list, surgeries, still to make it back after that and, you know, play 4 or 5 more years, that's something that I would say I'm proud of. You know, top 10, all that stuff, as I said, that's all stuff that I know I was capable of. Not a surprise to me.
You were drafted by the Cubs, but 1 year into your pro baseball career, you got traded to Pittsburgh, and it worked out great. You spent many years with the Pirates, but you're 21 years old at that point. You get that news probably from your minor league manager. How did that hit you at that age?
Oh, I vividly remember it. I literally had just got called up to High A, Daytona, Florida, and I'm there for maybe 3 weeks, and I had just got named the Florida State Player of the Week. And once again, I got drafted at second base. When I get to the Cubs, I'm playing more left field. I'm playing more outfield than the infield, but I'm playing more third base than second base. And I'm like, man, but I DH'd more than everything. And this is 20 years ago. I'm like, there's no DH, or 15 years ago, there's no DH in the National League. Like, what is going on? But they also knew I could bounce around, so I got hit. They're putting me around, and I remember it's 30 minutes before the game, and I'm listening to my music, just got my ankles taped. Manager Buddy Bailey goes, hey, where's Harrison? And he's right in front, right here. He goes, coming to the office. I'm all right. Pull my headset, my headphones, sit down. It's him and our hitting coach, Richie Zisk. And he goes, good news for you, bad news for us. Can you guess? You know, as I said, I just got called up. I'm 3 weeks there, Florida State Player of the Week, like balling. I go, I'm going to Double A. He goes, no, you just got traded to the Pirates. Thanks for everything. Somebody will be calling you. You can't be in a locker room. And my wife now, she's my girlfriend at the time. Literally, we had just she's planning to come visit me the following week.
Right.
And I walk out the locker room, out the coach's office, and guys are like, "You going to Double A? You going to Double A?" And I'm like, "No, I just got traded to the Pirates." And everybody like, "Man, like, so when do you go?" I'm like, "I don't know. I ain't heard from him." And long story short, I was going to Lynchburg, Virginia the next day, but I had to fly into Roanoke and then drive like an hour. And I'm going to a complete, just learning the Cubs, going to a completely new place, learning this place. But when I got traded from the Cubs, I was, as I said, all the positions I played, I think I was leading the organization at outfield assists, triples, stolen bases. So I know I was looked at as kind of I don't want to say a throw-in, because everybody besides me that was in my trade were all in the big leagues. In fact, some of them had actually played. The Cubs and the Pirates played that day. One of the pitchers for the Cubs that won the game got traded to the Pirates with me. Traded with, yeah. But so I was like the only minor leaguer in the deal. So most people were probably, "Oh, we don't know who this is." Yeah. But as I said, I can remember I was ready to go lead off and play left field, and I got told I was traded.
What was your draft experience like?
A lot different than now. I think back then, I don't even know if we had it. Maybe the first round might have been broadcast. But I can remember I put my phone on silent. Me and my mom, we go eat lunch like at Red Lobster or whatever. Draft, whenever it started, say if it started at 4, people were texting at noon, "Hey, has he gone yet?" And it's like, come on, man, like the draft hasn't even started. But it was back where you used to have to watch it on the internet. Draft picks came up, and I remember I think they were supposed to do the first 5 rounds, and they did the first 6 rounds the first day. And I'm sitting at the computer, and I remember I just saw the Cubs name, and it goes, Josh Harrison. And my mom's sitting next to me, my dad's in like the living room, and I go, "I just went." And she goes, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, the Cubs just drafted me." My phone rings, and that was my agent calling and say, "Hey, Cubs just selected you." I was like, "Yeah, I just saw it." So we used to have to look on the internet.
Yeah.
But that whole day, having gone through it with my older brother Vince, we know the chaos that it brung with it. I can remember, sitting in front of the AOL, making sure no phone calls came while my brother, the draft was going on. "Hey, we need to see the internet to see when he gets drafted." It's just a hectic day where I was like, "Mom, I don't want to talk to nobody." Like, Dad's at work, my brothers are gone. Like, we just spent the day where we just went to go eat and just chilled. So it was hectic, but it was one of the more fun experiences that I had, because it was one step closer to my dream.
So drafted by the Cubs, traded to the Pirates, and then a couple years after you joined Pittsburgh, you get your major league call-up in 2011. What are your most vivid memories of that first day in the big leagues?
I didn't know anybody. As I said, that was my second year with the Pirates organization, and I wasn't in big league camp. So everybody that was in the big leagues, I didn't know. I had seen them from when they would bring me over in spring training for big league games, but it wasn't like I could go up and be like, "Hey, what's going on, Dan?" Like, somebody might be, "Oh, recognize you," like, "Hey, good to see you." But
yeah,
I can remember I was in Pawtucket the night before, and this is what I tell people: like, you can't control when you're gonna be called up. You never know when you're gonna be called up. I had just started playing shortstop again, and I remember my manager, Dean Trainer, is like, "I'm putting you at shortstop," and I'm making plays. I go 5 for 5. I come back the next night, I'm like 0 for 5 with like 3 strikeouts. And after the game, like, we win, and it was like a great comeback win. After the game is over, I'm coming in, and the trainer goes, "Hey, Jay, Dino needs to see you." And as I'm walking in there, I'm walking thinking to myself, like, I don't ever give a reason for them to be like, "You're not playing hard." I can understand striking out, but like, I've never been called into office for like effort or anything. So I'm like, "Man, did I not run the ball out or something? Like, what did I not do?" And I go in, he goes, "I know I told you you're gonna be playing short, but I'm not even gonna mess with you. Like, you're going to the big leagues tomorrow." And I'm like, "All right." He's like, so there was a catcher, Dusty Brown, who had been to the big leagues before. He's like, "Dusty's going up too. There'll be a car to pick you up." He was able to tell me, like, most people have stories where they joke with you. But Dino was one of my favorite managers of all time, because he was able to see a lot of the opportunities that I didn't get before I got. So he was a guy that was always in my corner. So I think for him, he didn't even want to send my mind anywhere, just because he was like, "Nah, this dude deserves it. He's always fought for me." So I think it was one of the more rewarding times for him, because, I've had other guys where he's come in and he's ripped into him in front of the team, and he goes, "Pack your bags, you ain't coming back because you're going," like, we'll set it up.
Right.
I think for me, as I said, he's been one of my favorite managers I had. But I just remember coming out the office, calling home, my mom and dad, and I go, Mom, y'all need to find flights. I just got called up. Y'all got to go to New York. It's right before Memorial Day. She goes, what? And my dad, I can hear him in the background. My dad, and he whistles. He can whistle like this, and I just hear him in the background, shh, shh. And, you know, like, excited. My brother Vince is playing, like, independent ball in, like, York. He ended up taking a train to come stay with me in New York. And my parents, they didn't get to see me play. I didn't play the first day. But, you know, it was a whirlwind experience of, man, I'm at Pawtucket now. I got to take 2 propeller planes to go to New York from Pawtucket. Got to find flights for my parents. I think those things are a little easier now.
A little bit.
But, you know, as I said, my mom always says I have a memory like an elephant. But I can remember those times. I even called my wife. She was my girlfriend at the time. We weren't even engaged, but, you know, we were getting close to that point. And, you know, she was so excited. She came into our, you know, dating experience before not really knowing much about baseball, so she's been there every step of the way. So she's like, I don't really know what that means. Like, you know what I mean? But
it means a lot.
It means a lot, you know.
My life just changed.
But no, it was definitely one of the more, you know, as I said, another step closer to my dreams. Because you know, for most people, they go, man, you achieved your dream of making the big leagues. I said, you know, making the big leagues is hard. It's harder staying.
No question. So All-Star Game appearances in 2014 and 2017. What's it like that first time when you're in the clubhouse with all of these guys that have achieved so much, and it's, you know, it's proof that you are among the elite?
Oh, it's cool, man. It's so chill, so laid back. You know, you get to see people in their own element as opposed to just being on the other team. You know, I can remember my first one. It was in Minnesota. You know, I was next to Hunter Pence. You know, people that know Hunter Pence, he's kind of wired. He's all over the place. And he was such a cool dude. Had his little cowboy boots on. I'm talking to him. We played against each other forever. And, you know, he's like, yeah, man, I drink like 5 pots of coffee a day. He said I can drink a pot of coffee before bed and fall asleep.
He's that guy.
But you know, but he's a cool dude, and I'm starting to find personalities. And I always talk to these guys when they're on base, but it's cool to get more than just a pitch or two. You know, being there and seeing, you know, Stanton hitting home runs in the third deck in Minnesota. This is before, this is 2014. We ain't talking 2024. You know, balls weren't going in third deck at, you know, Minnesota's park. There's been a lot more construction now to where ball carries a little bit better. But, you know, there's a picture of having my middle brother Sean down on the field with me, and we like this, looking at, you know, just in disbelief. And it's one of those things where, as you say, you can look on TV and see people play each other and have heated moments, but baseball really is a small brotherhood where when you get a chance to, you know, experience those all-star games, you get a chance to have fun and, you know, see the other side of people that you might not ever get a chance to be a teammate with.
Most of your big league career was spent in Pittsburgh. The Pirates were really good for many of those seasons, multiple playoff appearances, and you were one of the fan favorites because people like guys that are not, you know, 6'3". They can identify a guy that's listed at 5'8". What's it like for you to be part of that Pirate legacy?
Once again, as I look back, it's definitely something to look back and be proud of. You know, being traded to the Pirates, knowing that at the time they were going through one of the worst professional sports losing streaks while being in the minor leagues. So I knew it was a great opportunity being traded to that organization to, you know, one, make the big leagues and make an impact. And when I got called up and was able to help, you know, there were already some pieces there. Andrew McCutchen, Pedro Alvarez, Neil Walker. You know, they had signed A.J. Burnett. They had a veteran shortstop, Clint Barmas. So you had a blend, you know, they brung over Russell Martin. So you had a good blend of having some homegrown guys with, you know, guys that have been there, A.J. Burnett, Russ Martin, Clint Barmas, that when I came in, you know, I said, I'm observant. I'm the youngster 3. I know how to read a room. I know how to read people. I go about my business. I've always been fun, joyous, loving. Nothing's really going to get to me because you're going to get what you get. But I think I could have been somewhat a breath of a fresh air because once you mentioned most of the team didn't know me. So here they are, see this guy that shows up, he plays hard. Pittsburgh's very similar to Cincinnati. That's why I say the cities don't like each other. The stadiums are downtown on the river. You can see the backdrop in the same division. one feels like big brother, one feels like the other one's little brother. So you can see why, those cities appreciate people that play hard. And so Pittsburgh drew a liking to me. Not only did I play hard, I played well. You can't just play hard. You got to play well. So I think I was able to bring an element to that team that they hadn't seen before. A guy that could play multiple positions and do it well, but also allowed other people to relax. Because, as I said, the pressure that other people feel, I can take on. Because nothing's really going to get to me, because one way or another it's going to get done.
You were a big leaguer as recently as last year. This is the first time in I don't know how many years that you haven't spent your summer playing baseball. How long has it been?
33 years. I started playing when I was 3.
And what's it been like?
Oh, it's been fun, man. It's definitely been an adjustment, but it's been fun. Waking up, not having a schedule is a little different, but at the same time, it allows me to, do what needs to be done or do what wants to be done. If my kids want to get up and go do something, or my wife wants to go do something, or, hey, let's go visit your grandparents or cousins, all things that we only had a select time while I was playing to do, which is kind of the winter months. So it's been cool. We went on our first summer vacation a couple weeks ago to down in Amelia Island, down by Jacksonville. No schedule, I got to leave at 2 to get on the bus to go, get ready for the game. It was definitely a nice, relaxing vacation to go on the beach and then work our way back to the pool and do it again for the next couple days. So it's been a nice adjustment. I know my wife and kids have enjoyed it, just as much as I have, because we're making up for as much missed time as we can.
I was a minor league baseball announcer. I told you that earlier. Many of those years spent with Pawtucket, oddly enough. But
where they drop the buckets down.
Yes, they do. Autograph. So the top row of the stands is above the dugout, so they dangle down buckets to get autographs.
That's why I was last. I was like, dang, I went 0 for 5. I can at least sign some autographs.
But anyway, I tell people all the time, when you're in that life, you love it. There's a game every day. You're around people that love the sport, but you totally forget that there's this life that normal people have in the summer, where there are family functions and 4th of July celebration and family weddings and even just weekends of doing fun activities. You're finally getting to do this.
I'm going to add one to you. First days of school.
First day of school. Well,
no, I'm saying usually August.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
Something that seems so small, so trivial. First days of school, everybody's posting pictures. Mm-hmm. How many first days of school have I been? I think maybe one. I think it was COVID or whatever. Like around those times or something like that. It was 19 when I tore my hamstring with Detroit. My daughter was going to kindergarten. That's the only first day of school I've ever been to. So those things that seem kind of trivial.
Yeah.
Family movie night at school. Probably things that you won't necessarily always do, but just to have the option to tell your kids yeah, we're not going because we don't feel like it. Not, you can't make it because we got to go to, Philly or DC, which they would be excited about, but it's also a sense of normalcy, having some stability. Kids need stability.
Yeah, the other thing too is during the season, you're never home. And by that, obviously you're on the road half of the time, but even when you're home, when the team is home, you're not home. You go to the park early in the day, you don't get home until after midnight. It is a very challenging life for somebody with a wife and 2 daughters. Oh,
yeah, they travel with me when school was out. So that summer schedule would be, if I'm leaving at 1:30, they come to the game, and after the game, we drive back home, and, it's 11:30, putting them to bed. Me and my wife might have, 30 minutes, hour before we go to bed or whatever, but, we get home, and it's, okay, we got to put the kids to bed. Now we got to do this all over again tomorrow, which is cool because, I have a lot of teammates that, one way or another might not have got to see their family as much as I did. I was always blessed to be able to be just close enough, with the exception of when I got traded to Oakland. But that was only for, for 2 months. But like I said, I was fortunate enough for my family to be able to say, this 5-hour drive isn't bad. It's still enough to put on your brain. You don't really want your family traveling like that when you're not with them. But those are sacrifices that people make, especially, significant others when it comes to, we want to see our wives and our kids just as much as they want to see us.
So I mentioned off the top, your brother Vince is managing the Dayton Dragons. Do you have an interest in that, or have you decided exactly what you'd like to do post-playing days?
I haven't really decided. I know I have a lot of valuable information. that I could pass on. Coaching takes a special person to coach. Coaching is another commitment, just like playing. They're there longer than the players, so that's something that I would really have to take think on. But I know my brother Vince is doing this thing, and I can't sit here and say I will or I won't, but he gets a big league job. I know I'll probably be one of his first calls. So I can't. And I say that's the pressure on you, bro. But at the same time, I can't say what I will or won't do right now. I'm just living in the moment and enjoying my time.
So your final year at UC was 2008. Brian Kelly was the football coach. The next year they go to the Orange Bowl. Mick Cronin was in the early stages of building the basketball program back up. What kind of friendships did you make outside of baseball with some of these other guys that were on campus?
So guys that I would have been cool with, Cincinnati is small, but it's big. Various sports, football, there are a couple guys on the football team that I grew up playing against from Little League and football. A couple guys on track. You see people that come here and be like, man, it's a beautiful campus. And when they see the enrollment numbers, they be like, oh man, it's a big school. But when you realize that's, counting, Blue Ash and all the other sectors, I had a lot of friends, not just within sports though, also from classes that I had, whether it was, going to College of Business, some of my Common Core classes from my freshman year. It was kind of cool. So I wouldn't say it was just athletes, but I was able to make connections with other guys outside of other sports. Like, not really too personal with the Kelseys, like as far as in person, but like we know each other. Like they're from Cleveland. I got family from Cleveland. They were just with my family a couple weeks ago. So, we have those connections where we talk through people that we know. And a lot of people from Cleveland came, and Columbus came from Cincinnati. So I would say I was able to branch out and, be cool with everybody.
There's a video out there of you speaking to the baseball program a few years ago where you said there are two things that you can control: attitude and effort. Was that the key for you? Is that how you achieved what you did?
That's part of it. Definitely, for sure, because the mind is a powerful thing. And your attitude towards something can definitely help or definitely, not help. So, even when things get hard, your attitude going into it, knowing that, whatever the case may be, I'm the right person for this, I'm the right man or woman, whatever, for the job. That confidence in itself, baseball is a game that tests your confidence. It's not the skill. Everybody that's playing, you got the skill. It's who's got the confidence and who has the ability to know that even in your failures or your struggles that you're the right man for the job. So that's where it came from, is knowing that, if I control my attitude, which is how I think, and then, everybody can control their effort. You decide how hard you're going to run. You decide how much you're going to focus. Those are two things that I feel can help in everyday life, not just sports.
It's the ultimate handle failure sport.
For sure.
Yeah. You got to be able to bounce back every day, maybe, every other at bat or whatever.
When you're younger, you could say you don't really deal with that many struggles. But as you start to get to high school and once you get to college, but even those are different, because college you play, maybe you might have a midweek or two midweek games. You get to pro ball, it's every single day. So you can imagine having a weekend where it's like, oh man, I went 0 for 9 in college, then you don't play, and then the next. No, I've had a couple of 0 for 20s, and that ain't just over the weekend. That's over the course of 4 straight days. I'm leading off. I'm getting 5 at bats a day. I ain't walking. I went 0 for 5, 4 straight days. Those are things that it starts to, I don't want to say creep in, but can you come back from that? Not everybody can, but know that the best ones that play this game have been in that situation.
Let's discuss something off the field. Harrison's for Hope, your foundation, family foundation. Explain what it's all about.
So it's a foundation my wife and I started when we were in Pittsburgh. We had done some various charity events in Pittsburgh before we started our foundation that were geared towards kids. And once we had kids, obviously you understand being able to provide for kids is something that, is lacking throughout the country for, what one part of the reason, whether you know or not. You could walk past a kid and not know their situation. So we wanted to do something about it that we can control, and things that we started when we were at Pitt. We had a couple events where we did like a baby shower for expectant mothers from like the women's shelter. Did like a coat and clothes drive for like winter clothes in Pittsburgh. Various things that we've done in other cities that we were able to do, but it was more geared for helping kids from the minute that they're born to 18 in various ways, whether it's sports, whether it's clothes, education, just any way to help a kid, because everybody needs help, and I would hate to see a kid not reach their full potential just based off of not getting help. And everybody thinks that the help has to be this great, monumental, this. No, but there are stories out there where the help could just be giving somebody a ride. The help could just be saying, hey, keep going at it, encouraging words. So having kids and knowing that we're able to provide for our kids and knowing that there are other kids out there, as I said, we've been able to do things back, in the cities that I've played, but now that we're kind of home, we're able to do a little bit more at home.
You've got a golf event coming up in early August.
August 4th.
Tell us some of the details.
So August 4th is at Glenview Golf Course, and I'll get you the flyer and stuff. But August 4th, it's a shotgun start, 12 to 6. We still have a few slots left for players or if you want to sponsor. Also got some cool giveaways, or not giveaways, but like raffle items, silent auction, just to name a few, like Ellie De La Cruz signed ball, Mike Trout, a couple of my colleagues that I've played with,
So two pretty good ones right
there.
there.
Just to throw off the top, and a whole slew of some other cool memorabilia and stuff, and it's gonna be a good time. And it's gonna be it's called Swings for Scholarships. Where last year my wife and I, we had done 2 scholarships for 2 kids coming out of Lincoln Heights from the Heights movement, and so this is gonna be another way just to help some kids in need that want to further their education. And as I said, every little bit helps. So. Looking forward to seeing everybody August 4th, Glenview Golf Course, Harrison's for Hope, inaugural, I guess you could say, golf event.
Are you a golfer?
No, but I mean,
you will be on August 4th.
I mean, I've had my own club for 10 years, and
time to get
some use. I still got the line drive through the 4-hole and doubles in the right center.
If you find the right course, that will work just fine.
Hey, give me one, or maybe rotate, or just don't use. I need a handicap.
Don't we all? This has been great. Congratulations on a phenomenal career.
Thank you.